And that was out for a year with that, and then I went down. Part of the company got together with somebody else, and we went down to Florida. We did still 3 months down in Florida, all the resort towns there, and going went up to Louisiana and so forth. But it was I had a great time with that show, going all over America, and I certainly got to feel for practically every town. Although I must say, coming to Los Angeles, the first time I've been here in about 15 years or more, and you guys just drive around like I still don't know where I am. We could be in Timbuktu for all I know. You know, year after in this town, and lived here, not lived here really, but I had 3 or 4 weeks or months sometimes over a long period of time, and that was here off and on a lot too. And I got to know some parts of it, but I sort of hit the edge of it yesterday, but not really. I didn't know where I was. I hadn't gathered myself in. Of course, it's been a good 15 years since I've been here. But I don't know, that's a long-winded answer to a very precise question.
Mr. Frid, there's a gentleman who deals with words. Did you ever notice that the writers of the show used the word must? Oh, you must go there, you must do this.
I'm a bit of a vampire aficionado. And my top 3 would be Bela Lugosi's Dracula, your portrayal of Barnabas, and Gary Oldman's portrayal of Dracula, and Bram Stoker's Dracula. So for me, you're way up there, because I love the other 2 actors as well. I had a question that's a little off Dark Shadows, but I had read, and I've actually seen the movie, you were in Oliver Stone's directorial debut, his first film. Could you talk a little bit about that? And did you see the star he was going to be in the future working on that first film?
Well, no, I never saw him again after that. But it was interesting. We did it up in Canada, and I had trouble getting across the border because I was a Canadian, and they were all making up stories that they were crossing the border to have a picnic or something. And, they caught me and picked me up and really grilled me because I was a Canadian. What am I doing with this guy? You know? But that's neither here nor there. Yes, I enjoyed doing it. It was up in Quebec. I know very little about Quebec. For a Canadian, I hardly know the country other than Ontario. But Quebec was a charming place to be. And as for the play, story itself, the storyline, yes, it was interesting. I enjoyed doing it. It could have been better, but I mean, in a sort of strange way. But in a strange way, it was rather interesting. It was a good show. I liked working with him, sort of. He was beginning, and I don't quite know. I haven't really thought that much about it, to tell you the honest truth. It was very fast, 5 weeks or 6 weeks. We did it in, and it was difficult to do it with the changing season because a lot of it was outdoors, and it was the fall, late fall, so the leaves were changing. So whenever you can't repeat this scene 6 weeks later because one time there'd be no leaves in the trees, and then a week later there'd be whatever. It was very difficult to time the takes in that show. But it was an interesting, provocative story, I guess, and some interesting characters in it. I certainly enjoyed it. I wouldn't have missed it for the world that way. And again, I was in that team with one of the writers who we went to Yale together. He was in the drama, he was in the writers department, and he was a writer. Help somebody. Ron Sproat. I think he had something to do with my getting that. I'm not sure. But anyway, yes, I went into this room and there were a whole bunch of people, all kind of creepy looking. And I thought, oh, I don't have a chance here. And apparently to them, I was the creepiest of the bunch. No, and then, oh yes, and this is very interesting, and I'm glad you brought this up, because that was on a weekday or Friday, Thursday or Friday. They hadn't made up their minds, and I got a call from them on Friday night, would you come up to the studio tomorrow? It sounded very gloomy, and I don't know how they said we wanted to talk to you or something. But I was terribly depressed. I was going up to thinking, they're giving me my papers already. And I went up, and it was at the studio where we did the thing eventually. Anyway, I was, all of the Dan Curtis, by the way, was not in New York. He had nothing to do with my getting into the part. I think it was his concept of the whole idea of Barnabas. But he was still over in Europe, finishing a movie that was taking over time over there. And so he wasn't there. So David Shelby. No, help me. Who? Bob Costello. He was the one that really put me into that thing. But anyway, I went to this meeting expecting to get the paper, and say, we're sorry that we bothered you, but we really can't use you. They started asking me questions about what I think of what Barnabas is all about. I don't know. I think they gave me a script, an old script, months before, well before Barnabas, but just to get a flavor of the story. And anyway, we began to talk about it, and I said, well, yes, I've played villains, a lot of villains in my life, and I don't try to make them goody two-shoes particularly, but I'd like to get more depth to them and not just play the evil of a person, but to find out what balances that, if there is anything to balance. And then we talked about this Barnabas cause, what a terrible predicament he would be in by being allowed to get out of this coffin. I mean, you have to accept all these crazy things. You take them seriously. And so it was a very interesting beginning. And I think, as I say, my friend from Yale, I played a lot of villains up there, and so forth and so on, and interesting and good people. I mean, good and bad, dumbers and wise, or whatever you want to call it. I had a lot of variety up at Yale. I mean, I had 3 years. I was up there to direct, but they kept using me in plays as well, because I'd already had a career in England, sort of. And so I was, anyway, they used me a lot. And so they knew my range very well. And so we talked for about 2 or 3 hours that Saturday afternoon, and we sewed it up, and I was just thrilled when I left, because I thought I was going to get my, my bill, my papers to leave. But, so it was a very interesting week. And then, of course, I was a nervous wreck. I hadn't done very much soap opera, but only one other thing that I had done. I can't remember the name of it. But as the world turns, I have one, I gotta tell you that one story, and then I promise to shut up. I